Hey, it's Barbara and welcome back to my channel. Today I have 4 fun Dollar Tree Snowman DIYs, so let's jump right on into the first project. I am using this wooden cube from Dollar Tree. Now I've already used the outside portion on a previous DIY, so I'm just going to repurpose this one. And you're going to use both of the pieces, so you want to make sure that the openings are both on the same side in the back there, and then I made sure that that design is facing down on top so you wouldn't see that little butterfly. And then I'm going to attach the two using some Gorilla Wood glue and some hot glue, and just make sure that you center it right there on that top cube. Try your best, to make sure that it's centered. And then I took some Waverly chalk paint in white and I gave it 2 coats. And I also painted the inside just because I like to have a nice finished look, because you will be able to see this from the back if you don't have it like sitting up against a wall. Then I hand drew the face on there, and if you don't feel comfortable hand drawing a face, you could always print something out and trace it. And then I painted the nose in my Folk Art Pure Orange acrylic paint. And then I also used an oil-based Sharpie and then a fine-tipped Sharpie to get to those fine lines and filled all of those in. And his face is so adorable. Then I took some of my black chalkboard craft paint. This came from Dollar General. And I'm just going to dry brush around all of the edges just to give it a little bit of a weathered distress look. And then I'm using some of these stickers from Hobby Lobby, and if you've watched any of my previous videos, I've used these before. Now this step is completely optional. I know not everyone feels comfortable using power tools, but I just lined up the hole because these snowflakes have little holes in the center, and then I drilled that out and then drilled a couple of holes above and below that, and then right there in the center of the whites of the eyes, I drilled that out. Again, this is completely optional. You don't have to do that. To apply the stickers, I'm going to use some Mod Podge. Now, the stickers are very sticky, but because I drilled those holes there, I just want to make sure that it stayed. And then I took some buffalo check ribbon. This ribbon came from Hobby Lobby. And I'm just going to fold that in half and then use some hot glue to hold that together. Now, I didn't measure, the length of this ribbon. I just eyeballed it. And of course, I have a lot, so I do have to cut some off. And then I'm just going to wrap that around right above the bottom cube, right there at the bottom of the smallest cube, and hot glue that around the 3 sides. And then when I get in the front, I'll create a scarf for this snowman. So just put the hot glue right there on top of the bottom one, and I did, just right there on the bottom. And then take the scarf and kind of pull it down so you could still see his face. And then I'm going to glue that in place after I wrap the other one. So I just folded it over and pulled it through. And then I'm going to take that piece that I just pulled through and put it back through that original loop. And once I get that in place, I will put a little bit of hot glue to hold it there so it doesn't slide down. And then I will cut the excess off because the ribbon is, slightly longer than I need it to be. And I just eyeball this just to determine how long I wanted them to be. And then I do take my scissors and cut slits. And of course, this is optional as well, but I just cut slits in the end just to make it look like it had a fringed end and to make it a little more realistic. I am using one of Dollar Tree's cute little hat ornaments. I've gone ahead and removed the tag, and I'm going to hot glue that right on top of the snowman. And then this could be finished, but I'm going to do a little something extra because I'm going to add some lights in. And that's why I drilled those holes, so you would be able to see the lights from the front. And you guys, when I bought these lights, I thought they were white lights, but I didn't read the box. But they're blue, but they still turn out so beautiful. And I love how this DIY turned out. He is so stinking cute. Let me know what you think of project number 1. So moving on to project number 2, I will be using this sign from Dollar Tree, and I tried my best to get that glitter off, but it was on there so good. I even tried to heat it up and sand it off, but it just wasn't coming off. So I took one of the centers of the Christmas wrapping paper, it's pretty thick paper, and I just traced that out and cut it down to size because I wanted this sign to have a nice finished look. Even though I'm going to be using the back of the sign as the front of my sign, I wanted to cover this part up because this is going to become the back. So once I got that cut out, I just hot glued it right over top of that, and now it's nice clean look. So just flip that over, and now we're going to use the back as the front. And I am going to paint this in my Waverly Chalk Paint and Truffle. And I don't paint the entire piece. I just painted about 3/4 of it because that one portion that I leave unpainted, I'm going to be covering that up. I also used 3 of the wood planks from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to give those 2 coats of my Waverly Chalk Paint in white. And then I'm also going to be using one of the square wood plank pieces from Dollar Tree. And then a painter's stick from Lowe's. So you can get about 10 of these for $1, I believe, or maybe a couple of dollars. Anyways, it's not the big giant ones. It's just like the medium-sized paint sticks. And I just measured where I wanted to cut it, and I used my handsaw, and I cut that down, and then I sanded the end of it smooth. Now I'm going to paint these 2 pieces in my black chalkboard paint. Sorry, it kind of went off frame there. This is the same paint from Dollar General that I used in DIY number 1. And then I'm going to use one of the medium-sized craft sticks. It's not the small one and it's not the jumbo ones. And I'm just going to cut the sides until they meet in a point. And then I'm going to take my sandpaper and sand that little point off so it's not so sharp. And then I gave that 2 coats of paint in my pure orange folk art acrylic paint. So now that I have all these pieces painted, it is time to assemble it. And I'm going to use some Gorilla Wood glue and some hot glue. And I'm just going to place that first plank, try to place it centered at the bottom edge. And I did go all the way to the bottom of the sign. And then I'm just going to place the second plank on top of that one, and then the next one right on top of that one. And trying to make sure that they're all flush on each side. Then I took the square one and put that right in the center at the top. And then I'm going to take that painter's stick and put that right on top of the bottom of the square plank. And then I'm going to hand draw a face on there. And then I do put the little nose on there just to kind of see where I want to draw the mouth. And you guys, if I had to do over again, I would definitely cut that nose down a little bit smaller. It's a little large. And I did, after I put it on there, try to take it off and cut it down, but it was not coming off. So I still think it turned out super cute. I just next time would have cut it down a little bit shorter. But he still turns out adorable. So I'm just going to hot glue the nose on there, and then I'm using one of Dollar Tree's mini wreaths, and I'm going to pull some of the greenery and some of the berries off, and then just hot glue those right there to the top of the hat. So I'm just using 2 of those mini branches, and then one of the leaves, and just a couple of bunches of those berries. And I do make sure I kind of glue those leaves down because they kept wanting to pop up. And once I get those in place, I'm going to create a hanger for the sign. And I'm going to use some jute rope. I could not find my hemp rope anywhere. But before I do that, I'm going to put some stickers on there. And these are the same stickers that came from Hobby Lobby that I used in the previous DIY. And I just placed 3 stickers on there so it'd have cute little snowflakes on his hat. And I took some Scotch tape and wrapped the ends of my jute cord up so that I could fit those through those holes. And I did take a little pokey tool, I don't think I put that on camera, to poke the hole through there so that I would have the hole in the back because I covered it up with the paper. And once I get that through there, I'm just going to double knot it on the back and use a little bit of hot glue to hold it in place. And then I'll cut the excess jute rope off. and this little project is complete, and I think he is adorable. This could be something really fun to make with your kids or your grandkids. You know, everybody loves snowmen, and I just think it turned out so cute. So let me know what you think of project number 2. If this is your first time visiting my channel, I would love it if you would click that subscribe button and the bell icon listed below this video. And if you enjoyed today's DIYs, please like, comment, and share with your friends. Also, I would love it if you would come visit me on Instagram at Country Lily Decor. Let's move on to the 3rd project. I am using 16 of Dollar Tree's Tumbling tower pieces, and I'm going to use some hot glue to glue these pieces together. So you take 2 of the pieces and glue those, and then glue those 3 sets of 2 together to make 1 set of 6. And then I'll glue 2 more pieces together and have 2 sets of 2, glue those to make 1 set of 4, and then I'll repeat that and make another set of 4. And then the other 2 pieces I will leave as single pieces. So once you're finished, you'll have 1 set of 6, 2 sets of 4, and 2 single pieces. And I gave those 2 coats of paint in my Waverly chalk paint in white. And then I'm going to hot glue 3 tumbling tower pieces on top of each other and take 2 of the medium-sized craft sticks and hot glue those together and press those really firmly so that they're almost flat. Then I'm going to take my black chalkboard craft paint from Dollar General and give those 1 good coat. Then I'm going to take a single cube from Dollar Tree and I'm going to paint that in my Folk Art Pure Orange acrylic paint, and that takes 2 coats. So now that all my pieces are painted and assembled, it is time to put this snowman together. And I am going to hot glue 1 of the sets of 4 right in the center at the top of the set of 6. And then I'll glue the single cube right there in the center of that and put 1 of the single tumbling tower pieces on each side. Then I can put the set of 4 right there on top of that one, hot glue the craft sticks on the center of that one, and then put that single set of 3 right there on top of the craft sticks. And he is so cute. And it's freestanding as well. So I hand drew a face on there, and I'm going to take my oil-based Sharpie and go over that after I apply this snowflake sticker right there in the center of his hat. And then once I get the face drawn on there, I'm going to take a scrap piece of the red and black buffalo check ribbon that I had lying around to cover the bottom. So when I put this on there, it's a little bit taller, which worked out perfect, than the tumbling tower pieces, because then I could cover the top parts of those side pieces. So I just cut a slit where those lined up, and then I'm going to cut that piece out. So it's going to have an indentation right there in the center. And then I'll line that back up so that those 2 pieces can fold over the top. And then I'll put some hot glue to hold that in place. And you can't really see it on this frame, but on the next one you can see it a little bit. So just put a hot glue right there and then fold those pieces down. And then I'm going to put some hot glue in the front to hold it in place. And then I'll cut a slit on each side at the end and then cut that off so that I can wrap this ribbon around the back, and now the front and the top and the sides will be covered in that ribbon. And so as I was making this, and he turns out super cute, to me he looks like a cowboy snowman. He is so cute. Let me know. He just looks like a cowboy snowman with a bandana. He's adorable. So let's move on to the 4th project for today, and I am using this wreath form from Dollar Tree, And I'm going to remove all of those pieces, and I carefully remove the mouth and the nose and the eyes and those little snowflakes because I'm going to reuse all of those except for the snowflakes, and they pulled off really easily. And then you just take all that extra stuff that's on there off, so you're left with nothing but the frame. Then I took one of the microfiber cloths from Dollar Tree, and I do use this entire cloth to cover up the bottom part because I wanted the face to be nice and fluffy. So I'm using the furry part, which ends up being the back side of the cloth, to cover the front of the wreath form. So I just line that up at the bottom of the hat, and then I'm going to flip that over and pull those corners as tight as I can so that I have a nice smooth finish in the front of it. And then I use the hot glue on the wreath form to hold that in place. So you'll just hot glue that corner and hold that there, and then you can hot glue the other corner as well, just making sure that you pull it as tight as you can so that it will stay nice and straight in the front. And then I just folded it over, and as I'm folding it over, I am pulling it in the front to keep it rounded and straight. And then once I get all of that in there, I'm going to tuck it all the way up at the top and make sure that everything's rounded and covered. And then I'm going to use hot glue to hold everything in place. So any little corners or creases that I see that I need to put some hot glue in, I'll just put glue there to hold it. And then I folded that over to give it a nice clean finish and hot glue that down. And now it has a cute, furry, fluffy face. To create the hat, I am using this fleece scarf from Dollar Tree, and I'm using my hot glue, and I'm just going to attach that bottom piece, and then I'm going to go in and cut it down a little bit to size so that I can cover the hat. So now you're looking at the back side of the hat, and I'm just going to cut just a couple of inches on each side so I'll have enough material to wrap it. But save that material because I'm going to use the rest of it in the rest of this DIY. So right there where the top of the hat is, I just cut a slit all the way to the center so I'd be able to fold that piece over and use my glue to hold it in place. And then I'll do that on the other side as well, trying to make sure that I keep the pattern straight and cut that slit up to the corner, fold that over. So for the top part, I'm going to cut a slit right there to the corner of the hat on each side so I would be able to fold that centerpiece down. But I'm not going to glue that yet because I want to glue the side pieces down first. So I'm just going to cut up to the corner and cut that excess fabric off so that I can fold the sides in and hot glue those down. And then I'll come in and glue the top part of the hat down and hold everything nice and in place. And so now his hat is finished. I'm going to take another piece of that, and I didn't measure it. I just held it up to see about how long the hat brim was. And I'm going to fold that over where the square, so it just has one section of squares. I'm going to keep folding that over. And then because of the way I cut mine, I had a little bit left over. So I'm just going to cut that excess off so I have one nice piece with the squares on there. And this is going to become the brim of his hat. And it's nice and full and fluffy. And then I'm going to hot glue that together to hold it in place. And then line it up on the brim of the hat where the dark squares are so that I can hot glue that around. And he has a nice fluffy brim, and it kind of stands out and has a 3D effect on there. And I'm just going to hot glue those down in the back. And then I use the rest of the scarf, and I just folded it over in half and cut it the long way so that it had those fringed pieces at the end. And then I'm going to fold this in thirds for both of those. And I'm going to glue those together so that I can create a scarf for the snowman. So once I get those glued together, I'm just going to take the first one and sort of put it at a slant at the bottom of his face. And I'm going to hot glue that right there at the bottom in place, but not so much at the corner on the left side because you want to be able to put the other piece of his scarf in there. And I haven't hot glued the back part down yet. I'm just going to do the bottom part of it. I'm going to leave that strand there. So then I took the other piece of the scarf, tucked it behind him, and then I'm just going to go over the original one and then loop that through and then pull it down and get that nice and tight, and then I can hot glue that in place. And then when you flip it over, I'll hot glue that corner down and move my bottom piece out of the way. And now I have these two long straps, and I didn't want to cut them down flush, so I decided to hot glue them right to the back. And it kind of gives it a nice finished look. It's really cute. It almost looks like a little backpack. It's adorable. And then once I get those glued down, now I can apply his face. But I didn't like, so I pulled most of the stuff off of the back, and it was pretty easy to get that off except for the nose, so I did have to use my scissors to cut all those little plastic pieces down. And I didn't like the way the mouth and the nose were so shiny, so I did give those a coat of my chalk paint to kind of dull it up a little bit so it didn't look so much like plastic. Once the eyes were dry, I just placed them where I thought they would look nice, and then I'm just going to hot glue those down. And then once I get that in place, I am going to take the mouth, and I really didn't like the way it looked, so I'm going to cut the ends off. And then I'm going to take that piece, and I'm going to cut about 1/3 of it, so 1/3 of the strip, so I can make the mouth a little bit smaller and thinner than the original one. And then when I glue this down, I'm going to glue this down in small sections so that I can try to bend it as I go. So I just hot glued that one corner, and then I'll glue the next part and try to manipulate it so I could kind of make it a little bit more of a smile. And then I hot glued the nose down. And then to decorate the hat, I'm using one of Walmart's picks, and I just pulled the greenery off and the berries. And I'm going to hot glue the little branch in there and then glue the other branch in there as well. And I do have to go in and put some glue so that I can hold those two together so it would sit a little more flat, and then glue the berries in. And then this little project is complete, and he's absolutely adorable. I just love how this one turned out. Let me know, you guys, what you think. If you have a favorite, I would love to know which one is your favorite. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. Please take care, and I will see you guys next time.